Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law, and we have a great edition of Meldon Law and Friends for you today from the Meridian Behavioral Health Center. We have Joy Riddle and Laura Holley, who are going to talk about the amazing work that they do out at Meridian. Before we get to that, there's a few things we want to bring to the attention of everybody who is listening. Number one, Gator sports are back in action. The Florida soccer team had their first game last Sunday, and they scored with less than 2 minutes to go to tie the game, went into double overtime, and it was a 1-1 tie against Texas. So we are off and running with the new era of Florida soccer because Becky Burley is retired. She was the only Florida soccer coach in our history, 27 years, if I'm not mistaken. So that was pretty cool. And they are going to be, the soccer team is going to be here this coming Thursday, August 26th, 7 p.m. They're playing UCF. And then on Sunday, we got a big game against Miami, Sunday at 2 p.m. So that's fun. If you guys haven't been out to the soccer stadium, it's a great facility. Meldon Law is a sponsor of all of the Gator sports. We are the only official personal injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators and very proud of that honor. Couple other things we got going on. Volleyball is starting up, and the Lady Gator volleyball team, they're out in California. They're playing a tournament out there, the Hornet Invitational, San Francisco, UC Davis. They're playing Stanford. So it's going to be a challenging experience for them. Volleyball, we've won more SEC championships than just about anybody, and we have also won some incredible games against top-notch talent. So going out to San Francisco is definitely a good thing. We also want to announce the Coastal Conservation Association event that's coming up September 9th. Meldon Law is a corporate sponsor of the event. It is for fishermen, boaters, people that are interested in making sure that our waters stay healthy so that we can have fun fishing. So that's at the Legacy Center out in Alachua, 530. Go to CCA Gainesville Banquet if you want some more information. We have a question. How do we win tickets for Gator games, and are you giving away football tickets? The answer is, of course. Meldon Law is going to be giving away tickets for all of the Gator football games. We're going to start with FAU September 4th. It's a 7:30 game in the Swamp. So for those of you that don't like to go to a game the first week of September at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we have a 7:30 game. So that is some relief for us. So we will be giving away tickets to all the Gator sporting events, football, volleyball, soccer. Just go to meldonlaw.com or to our Facebook page, Meldon Law, and you will be able to find all of the ticket giveaways, and it's really fun. We got, part of our deal with being the official personal injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators is that we get to get tickets, and we in turn give away our tickets to members of the community who can enjoy them, and it's been really exciting this past year. We're going to move into our show right now. I want to welcome Joy and Laura. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Awesome. Good. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, Joy, would you tell us what you do at Meridian Behavioral Health.
Okay, well, I am a senior vice president at Meridian Behavioral Healthcare, and I am in charge of marketing, communications, and advancement. So basically, moving the cause forward and securing resources to make that happen.
Well, that sounds like a big task.
It is, it can be a big task, but it's very challenging and very rewarding.
So, what's the history of Meridian Behavioral Health?
So, Meridian was founded in 1971. So it originally had a different name, and there were a couple of mergers along the way. It was named Meridian actually in 1996. But it was there in the movement that was happening with mental health in the 70s, and we are the leading provider of treatment of mental illnesses and substance use disorders in North Central Florida.
What counties do you service?
So we serve, let's see, Alachua,
I think
Bradford.
there's 16, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. I would more say if you took Gainesville and you went out 8,000 square miles around Gainesville, that's what we serve.
Wow.
And now we have on-demand telehealth now at mbhci.org/telehealth, and people can go on there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If they're having a crisis and just click, it's on demand, and someone will come on and talk with you.
Okay, so if somebody Googles Meridian Health Gainesville, they will find you.
They will find us, yes, definitely.
I try to make it easy so people who are listening to the broadcast in their car don't have to
Write it
stop.
down, yeah.
Try to write it down while they're driving. We don't want to.
Yeah, don't do that.
We don't want anybody to get hurt. But so it's Meridian Behavioral Health
Care.
Care.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's mbhci.org. So Meridian Behavioral Healthcare Inc.org.
Yep.
Okay, well that's exciting. I came to Gainesville in 1970, and I remember there were some facilities out on South 441.
Yeah.
Is that where you're currently located?
We are right on the corner. Our main campus, our headquarters, is right on the corner of 441 and Southwest Williston Road.
And what do you have residential folks there? You have
We have crisis there, so you can come in for crisis stabilization. We have addictions receiving. If someone's suffering from a substance use disorder and needs some help in that area, we have long-term residential care for rehabilitation. And that's kind of what people initially think when they think about Meridian. But what else we have is we have outpatient care. We have mobile response teams that can come to your house and see you, or your office, or the grocery store, wherever you're having a crisis. We have a partnership with the Alachua County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Gainesville Police Department for our co-responder program. So we now have police officer and a master's level clinician that ride together. And when someone calls 911 or needs assistance, and it sounds like there might be a mental illness involved or a domestic dispute or something like that, that team will be dispatched so then you have a counselor on site.
That's amazing because a lot of people are in a crisis. They get themselves worked up. However, if somebody could just kind of talk them down, they'll get to the next day.
Right, yeah, and then maybe get into some type of outpatient treatment or something instead of, getting arrested because there was a disturbance or something of that nature.
How long has that program been going on?
The first program, we spun up the first team with the Gainesville Police Department in 2018, and now we're in the process of getting to our fifth team in partnership with the county, with Alachua County. And our goal is to see these teams throughout our entire service area.
Well, that's really amazing. I read the newspaper, and there's always stories about, unfortunate events occurring because people think that they're in a situation they just can't get out of and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. definitely. We know it was really interesting when we spun up the first team in 2018 because we actually did the press conference the day after the team launched. And the officer that was there with us that day was telling us they were already getting follow-up phone calls from the people they saw the first day to come back out. So the community is using it as a resource too. So now they know that they can get that type of assistance.
Well, I'm just, really grateful for, what you have in place. How many folks work at Meridian?
We have around 800 that work at Meridian. We have 800, just about 800 employees, sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower. And we see over 23,000 individuals in treatment each year.
Wow. I had no idea that it was that large.
Yeah. You don't know.
So are you running the whole show? Are you responsible?
For the entire company?
Yeah.
Well, I'm on the executive team, and I think there are 6 or 7 of us on that team. But the CEO, the president and CEO, Don Savoy, actually steers the ship, and we're just right behind him.
How long have you been out there?
Me personally, I've been with Meridian about 3.5 years, going on 4 years now.
And what was your background before that?
So I have always been with nonprofit organizations in one form or another. I started out, funny enough, in mental health many years ago when I first got out of college, and I've always been with youth development in one way or another. I was in education for a little while, and it just kind of worked out that I would come back to my roots because it's always, where I wanted to be.
And have you been living in Gainesville a long time?
I have been in Gainesville. I moved here in '98 to go to the university, and they kept me. I'm still here.
So you've stayed here. You've been here for a long time.
Yes.
Well, I'm really excited to hear about the outreach program. Our next guest is the state attorney, Brian Kramer.
Oh, great.
And Brian, he's trying to work closely with the Alachua County Sheriff, the police, and everything to develop really innovative programs to keep people who have mental health issues, substance abuse issues, family crisis issues, try to keep them from populating the jail and figure out alternatives.
Yes.
Do you help with that?
Yeah, we do. We partner. Yes.
And what are some of the things you can do to help people that are in that crisis situation?
Well, we have mental health courts and drug courts that we partner with. So when people are diverted to that, we have case managers from our diversion and recovery programs that will attend court with them and help them, get through all the goals that they need to get through, and, just help them reintegrate into society in a smooth way.
Well, it's a monumental task, and the reason it's a monumental task is because you're dealing with people who don't have a long history of keeping it together, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's situational.
Yep.
And sometimes it's habitual, or whatever you want to call it. You know. But I want to delve into it some more. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and then Laura is going to be on the mic, and we're going to be asking Laura some more questions about what we can do. So I want to thank everybody for listening to Meldon Law and Friends, and we'll be back in 60 seconds. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault.
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends, and we've got a very exciting show for you today. Again, Gator sports are picking up, and Meldon Law is giving away tickets to football, volleyball, soccer. Just go to meldonlaw.com or go to our Facebook page, Meldon Law. And this show is being carried on Meldon Law and Friends Facebook page, YouTube, and 37 other audio platforms. So when you're in the car, driving somewhere, going back and forth to work, you can listen to the show. And we're really excited that we're able to contribute to the community and help let folks in the North Central Florida area know what's going on. So the first part of the show, we talked with Joy Riddle from Meridian Behavioral Health. And the second part of the show, we're going to be talking with Laura Holley, who is the Meridian Prevention Director. Laura, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So what do you do? What does a prevention director do?
I get asked that all the time. What do you prevent? So I work a lot in the schools. My team and I work a lot in the schools, and with community education and outreach. A lot of what we do is centered around evidence-based programming, actual curriculum that's been proven to beef up protective factors that are known to sort of counteract the risk factors somebody may have for developing mental health disorders or substance misuse disorders.
So break that down into what goes on day to day.
Yeah. So I wish I could tell you what my average day looks like, but I don't have an average day. There isn't one. But my team will go into the schools, and we may work with a specific school in a specific classroom. And let's say we have the 8th graders, right? So we'll go in for 13 weeks in Mrs. Jones's class, and we'll teach through the curriculum. We pre and post test it, and hopefully they leave. The goal is for them to leave with skills that are known and science-based and evidence-based to prevent problems down the road. So like if you look at the folks that are struggling now and you say, okay, let's look at this, demographic, and maybe they're women in their 30s, right? Just as an example. What if we could go back to middle school, what could we teach them that would prevent them from being where they are now? And so then we go in those zip codes and we teach them that, and hopefully we impact those numbers in 10 years.
What are the youngest ages that you teach?
We go all the way through down to elementary school, so all school-aged kids. Plus, my department also can provide support for parents. We have got some programming for parents. We've got programming for the whole family, and then some community-based programming as well. So really, we can impact or capture any age.
So if someone wants to reach Meridian, how do they get a hold of you?
Now, for prevention, there's two options. It goes through your school, so your school would have to sort of contract with us to do those programming, and we're available in all of the counties that we serve. Or we do have certain community-based programs like our mental health first aid program, which we have community classes. They're on our Facebook page or on our website. They're also welcome to give us a call. We're at 352-374-5600, and just talk to our access line and let them know you want to talk to prevention or you want information about community programs.
Or you could probably just Google Meridian.
You could probably
and
do
you
that,
probably
and it'll come up,
them.
right?
I'm at an age now where if I can keep one thought in my mind, okay, and walk away from talking to somebody and say, oh, if I need to get a hold of this one, just Google Meridian or Meridian Behavioral Health or whatever you can remember. So as I understand it, there's a number of different services that you perform when it comes to prevention.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So now, how do we reach telecheck? Do you know?
Talking about telehealth?
telehealth.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about telehealth is in the pandemic, Meridian already had the infrastructure in place for telehealth, right? We were already doing that in our rural communities. And then the pandemic hit. And so we were in a unique position to be poised to just sort of increase that. But it increased by, what was it, 400, 500%?
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
From
when
the
pandemic hit.
shutdown to 2
Yeah.
weeks later.
And so you give us some examples of what, were you just having people, did they call in? Did they, send in an email?
Yes, and
how did
yes.
it work?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes
yeah.
to everything.
All of that.
Sometimes it's messages through Facebook. They reach out however they reach out, and we try to meet them where they are.
And in some communities, we've even been able to, through agencies, deploy tablets.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
definitely. We can give. So sometimes people live in very rural communities where even if they have a cell phone, they don't have the type of data that it takes to run a video conference call. So Meridian, actually through the generosity of some of our donors, bought tablets along and put 9 months of data on each of those tablets because that's the trajectory of average treatment, so that we can give those to people who can't afford it or who just live far away and they don't have good data and they can't come in. So then they have that tablet. It doesn't cost them a penny. We give it to them, and then they can access us whenever they need us.
And they could then get to be able to have a counselor talk
Yep,
with them
yep.
and give them some coping strategies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever therapeutic intervention they're experiencing, they can do that right there on the tablet.
Yep.
So how do you differentiate, or do you differentiate between somebody who's like, we need to get them in right away, and someone who's just having what I would call a situational crisis?
Yeah, so when people contact us, we have skilled people that are emergency screeners. So they take a history and talk with you, and then we direct, from that, those screeners can direct them into the appropriate type of service for their particular situation.
Okay, so all they have to do is reach out to Meridian.
Yep.
And then you guys will figure out
Where
what
they
direction
want to go,
you
we'll
need.
let them know all the options, what's available, everything.
Now, the other thing though is you may be wondering, do I need help, or when do I need help? Right.
Very important point.
That's So when do you make the call? That's a question that we get a lot, like anecdotally. I know I get that in my personal
I do
life.
too.
Like when do I make the call? Because I think stress and anxiety. It's important to know stress and anxiety is part of the normal range of a human experience, right? So we're all going to experience that. And I like to equate it to like a sore throat. That's normal, but it's not normal, right? It's not how we're supposed to feel, but we get a sore throat. We can expect to have that multiple times in our lifetime, right? We can expect to feel depression and anxiety. But just like a sore throat, there are things we know to do to take care of ourselves. We have cough drops when we have a sore throat, right? And now if some time passes and we're not feeling better, our cough drops aren't working, we're going to call the doctor. And mental health is the same way. So we look at duration and impact when we're looking at ourselves or the people that we care about. Has this gone on for a period of 2 weeks or more? Is it impacting my ability to work, carry out my daily activities, or enjoy successful relationships? If you're answering yes to those questions, it's probably time to give us a call.
Well, it's amazing. Do you have a lot of success stories you can share with us? Without using any names.
We get a lot of feedback, in particularly with our mental health first aid program, because you talked before the break about habitual, right? And some people seem to kind of get stuck in a place, and some of that is because the average length of time somebody waits to get help is about 10 years, and they wait to get help because of stigma and because of not knowing where to get help or how to get help or having access to resources. And those are all things we try every day to combat, right, in the work that we do. But if we can impact that and somebody can get help sooner, we stop that bleed, so to speak. So, a lot's happening in those 10 years. We're self-medicating, so we're seeing coexisting substance misuse. We're developing negative coping skills, so we're seeing more mental illnesses that are compounding against the original ones. So if people can get help sooner, right, then all of it gets better. So we get a lot of that feedback when we proactively go out in the community. We teach mental health first aid or resiliency skills, and people say, gosh, this is stuff I didn't know before. Now I know what I'm looking at in my family and in my friends and in myself, and I know what to look for. And I don't feel like if someone needs help, I'm going to be afraid to intervene. I'm now equipped with the tools to do that. We get feedback consistently from some of those prevention efforts. That always keeps me going.
Yeah.
And how do people pay for the services?
Well, right now, for clinical services, you take that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
We accept all payers. Some people have private insurance. Some people are self-pay. It's just like any other medical practice that you go to. You have insurance or you don't. You pay your bills, and if you can't afford to, then we have programs to help you with that.
So you don't turn away people because they just don't have, I'm broke, I don't have health insurance, my family's going crazy, can you help me?
We're going to help you.
You're gonna help
Yeah,
me.
we're going to do something to help you. Yeah.
But health insurance does pay, if people have health insurance, they can utilize that to help pay for your services.
I would hope that by now all policies cover mental illnesses and substance use
Sure.
disorders, but most do.
Who
Yeah.
funds the Meridian program?
So, like any medical practice or healthcare organization, insurance, people paying their bills, we get a lot of assistance from federal grants, philanthropy, state grants. We partner Department of Children and Families. A lot of state dollars come to us that way. So there's a myriad of revenue streams that we have in there to keep us diverse and to keep us being able to help those people, because we are a safety net provider. We are the community mental health center. When you can't go somewhere else, you are going to come to us.
Well, with 800 employees, that blew my mind. I had no idea.
Yeah, nobody ever
Okay,
guesses
I'm going
it.
like,
They're
how did Meridian get 800? Because when I remember Meridian, it was a small core of people, and then all of a
Right,
sudden,
yeah, just in the Bridge House, that one building. Now, if you want to come out to campus and take a tour, and this is open to any of our viewers, I'm happy to take you on a tour, show you our facilities. Yeah.
Well, that's
Learn
really
about it.
exciting. Now we have some events coming up. I know there's an event at the Hotel Indigo out here at Celebration Point, and that is a luncheon on September 23rd, right?
Yeah, it is. It's September 23rd, like you said, at the Hotel Indigo, and it's part of an educational series that we do each year. It is one of our signature events. And this year it's going to be virtual as well as in person, so you can participate either way. And it is a luncheon, so if you're participating virtually, I'll be sending you a gift card for Uber Eats or something like that, so you can order your food in.
So you're still getting
Oh.
lunch.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's cool. Okay, so if you go to the Meridian website, you can go to mbhci.org, and you'll see Hotel Indigo. It's a luncheon from 11 to 1, and we're going to be dealing with steps to wellness.
Yep, that's
Self-care.
the name of the event, and this year it's focused on self-care. So you're going to really be learning some of those tactics that you can use, like right in the moment. Right now, if I were stressing out, we're going to be teaching you how to deal with that sitting right there.
So
Yep.
we've got 60 seconds left.
Okay.
Can you tell our audience some things that you want them to remember, and what's the most important thing to do in the event of a crisis?
Yeah, I'm going to let Laura take that since she's on the clinical side.
My number one is that wellness is in everybody's reach. Right? That there's hope for recovery, regardless of what you're dealing with, that there's resources out there, that there's help out there, and that if you can just take that first step, that mental illnesses are common, they're diagnosable, and because they're diagnosable, that means they're treatable. And recovery is not just possible, it's probable when you look at the numbers. So don't wait 10 years, right? That's the number one thing. And pay attention to yourself, listen to yourself, and don't be afraid to ask for help the same way you would go to the doctor for a sore throat. Give us a call, ask questions, and take care of yourself. Self-care is more than just bubble baths and long walks. Do that stuff too, but take care of your health the same way you do your physical health.
Well, thank you very much, Laura and Joy, for joining us on Meldon Law and Friends. And we look forward to having you back again and bring us up to date with what's going on.
Great, we'd love to.
And Meldon Law and Friends will be back in 3 minutes. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. The Meldon Law Firm from the beginning has been built on giving back to the community. I enjoy coming to work as much today as I did in 1971 when I opened my practice. I don't look at this as a job, I look at it as serving other people. While we're alive, what better feeling can you achieve than knowing that you've helped other people and thereby you enrich your own life? The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No, it's
fault.
not, no,
I am
it's not.
calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Well, I was in a truck accident. Because of the accident, I've resulted in 3 back surgeries. We saw advertisements on TV, and guess who popped up more often than not? It was Jeffrey. The communication that he provided was so appreciative. He shows his compassion as a human. He assisted us in achieving one of our dreams, the acquisition of a home, and we're here today with smiles on our face with the assistance from Jeffrey.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon. I'm here with my partner, Carrie Meldon, and our special guest, Brian Kramer, who is the state attorney for the 8th Judicial Circuit. And we're going to get to Brian in just a minute. Again, I want to remind everybody that Meldon Law will be giving away tickets to all of the Gator sporting events. We have soccer, we have volleyball, we have football. The next sporting event is this Thursday. The Gator soccer team is going to be here at 7 o'clock in the evening against USF. And Sunday afternoon at 2, we're playing Miami. The Gator volleyball team is in California for a big tournament this week. They'll be back the week after the Gators open in football. And as everybody knows who follows the Gator football, September 4th, Saturday, 7:30 in the Swamp, we have FAU. Go to our website, meldonlaw.com, or our Facebook page, Meldon Law, in order to find out what tickets we're giving away and enter the contest. Anyhow, we have a great privilege today of having our state attorney from the 8th Judicial Circuit here, Brian Kramer. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you, Jeff. It's wonderful to be here. This is an amazing facility. I've never
Yeah.
seen it before.
Okay. So everybody who's watching, a lot of people haven't been out to Spurrier's.
Yeah, it's
What do you-
beautiful. It's amazing. I've never seen a restaurant this nice. It's really fantastic.
How do you describe it?
It's like dining in a museum to the history of the Gators.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's interesting is Steve Spurrier insisted on having a lot of his players' trophies out here as well as his own.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And so, and it's fun. I've been out here, several times, and every time I come out here, it's really kind of cool because I see something else. I don't know if you saw the wallpaper upstairs. Did you see that? Steve Spurrier has all his plays designed. He's got everything, laid out as far as famous plays. And anyhow, for those of you that bleed orange and blue, you definitely need to be out here.
Absolutely.
And have you had a chance to dine out here yet?
This is my first time here.
Man, the food is just as good as the museum.
Wonderful.
So we're really excited. It's farm to table. I have to give him a plug, Brian, because it's this is going to be our new hangout on the weekend, right? We're going to have to come out here and watch some of the games. So anyhow, I'm going to turn the mic over to my son, Kerry Meldon. And Kerry, why don't you take over?
Well, Jeffrey, it's good to be here with you, and Brian, you as well.
Thank you.
We'll get it. I want to get into the backstory shortly, but before I do, as those people out there listening know, Meldon Law has been growing quickly. The last 4 years, we've opened offices in Fort Lauderdale. We have a new standalone office in Ocala, and we're hiring at a great speed, and we're getting bigger and better so we can serve North Central Florida. But I have a trivia question for you, Dad.
What's that?
Can you name the largest law firm in North Central Florida?
The largest law firm in North Central Florida. Well, I hope it's going to be Meldon Law.
But it's not right now.
Oh, it's the state attorney's office.
The state attorney's office.
Okay.
So the Honorable Brian Kramer is here. He's the he runs the largest law firm in North Central Florida.
We have about 50 lawyers and 75, 85 additional support staff, plus usually about a dozen interns. And we have 6 offices, one in every county in our circuit, with the main office being in Gainesville.
Can you tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about the different counties and what?
Sure.
Because most people don't know what the 8th
no.
Judicial Circuit means.
That's correct. So Florida has 20 judicial circuits, and each judicial circuit is headed up by a state attorney. So there are 20, like me, throughout the circuit. We also have an attorney general who does other responsibilities as statewide, and a statewide prosecutor who serves as her prosecutor in court as well, that has statewide jurisdiction. So each circuit has between 1 and as many as, I believe, 7 counties. We have 6, which is Alachua, Union, Baker, Bradford, Levy, and Gilchrist.
You did good on that one.
I say it from time to time. And so our jurisdiction stretches from essentially the Georgia border to almost Crystal River.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, Baker County is way out there.
is.
I mean, I was always wondering, why didn't they put that in the 4th Judicial Circuit with
That's
Jacksonville?
That is before my time. I don't know, but I'm guessing that somebody in the legislature wanted it that way.
And Brian, this has been a very difficult job to get. The 8th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office is probably has some of the most legendary attorneys that have been attached to that position. You're like the 3rd state attorney in the last 30 or 40 years?
That's correct. I would be the 3rd in the last 40 years, or 30 years, but there have only been 7.
That's incredible.
So I'm the 7th.
And in fact, the former state attorney, Bill Cervone, who you worked hand in hand with before taking over the position this past year, was just, didn't his portrait just get revealed?
We did. We just had his portrait created by a beautiful portrait artist that does wonderful work here in Gainesville. And we just hung that in the office. Mr. Cervone served 42 years in the state attorney's office, and 20 of them as the state attorney.
And how about let's talk a little bit about your career. Like, how did you become the state attorney of the 8th Judicial Circuit?
It's a long and winding road, but I started as an assistant state attorney in Manatee County in the mid-90s. I had been an assistant public defender before that time. And then when we started our family, my family is from Gainesville, so we moved back to Gainesville. And it was like a trade. My boss then, Mr. Earl Moreland, called Rod Smith and said, hey, I've got one for you if you're willing to take them. They made the trade. I came up here, and that would have been 1999. And I've been with the office mostly since then, and served in a variety of roles, including pretty much every position that we have. The highlights being the Levy County Division Chief, Felony Division Chief in the office, and then also as the Executive Director of the office for the 8.5 years preceding my election in 2000.
You know, one of the things that I was very impressed with on your resume is that you've been in a private practice role, you've been in public defender role, you've been in state attorney's role.
That's right.
And I've always felt like the prosecutors and the judges who have different experience make, they have a better understanding of what it's like on the other side as well.
I agree. And one of the things that is important is that we see people from every walk of life, every type of person, every difficulty that people face. It comes through our office. And if you're in a very narrow sort of frame of reference in your life, it can be very difficult to really empathize with the people who are being prosecuted, because unlike the defense, who has to zealously represent their client, we have a broader responsibility. We have a responsibility to all of the people of the state of Florida, and that includes the accused, which is different. So having that perspective to understand where did this person come from, what have they been through, and serving as an assistant public defender certainly gives you that very, very quickly. And being in private practice teaches you that people have very different situations that they confront in their life, and it's really critical to what we do.
I'm really glad that we have you in the position, because so going back to history, okay, when I started practicing here, Ted Duncan was the state attorney. So I knew Ted when the office was next to the Hippodrome Theater. It was called the Hope Building.
Right.
And the Hope family, Norwood Hope built Turkey Creek and a bunch of other things. I think it was named after his father. And Gene Whitworth was there. Shortly thereafter, Larry Turner showed up, and then Stan Morris showed up, and Harris Tobin showed up, and Ken Aber showed up, and then Bill Cervone showed up. And I feel like I've been very privileged to see, all the different state attorneys. Yeah. Gene Whitworth was a very good friend. Lynn Register. We had, of course, Rod Smith, Bill Cervone. Did I finish forgetting that?
You didn't, but I would tell you that those are all guys who are just, the sort of the history of the legal community in Gainesville. When Bill Cervone showed up at the state attorney's office, I was 4.
I love it. Yeah. And Gainesville, in many ways, is different. I mean, in other state attorneys' offices, I don't think that they have the same collegial understanding of working with the other side.
Right. Stacy Scott, who's our public defender, is not only our public defender; she's my personal friend.
Yes.
And so we have a relationship that's built on more than being adversaries in a courtroom. And so what we do matters to each other, that we communicate and that we cooperate where we can. We always are clashing in the courtroom. That's our jobs, and we both understand that. But because we value our personal friendship, it matters that we communicate. And what happens is important, as that we don't cross lines with each other. And I think that's really what is the basis of that collegial relationship, is that everyone in my office understands that, and they respect the public defender's office, because I respect the public defender's office. I respect the private bar. What they do, all my lawyers understand this is a critical function of the legal system. And of course, Ms. Scott understands that we have a job to do that they often don't agree with or appreciate, but it still has to be done.
So, Brian, when we come back from commercial, which is going to cut in a few minutes, you were executive director with Bill Cervone. I remember when I was practicing in the defense bar, you were implementing some really exciting changes to the state attorney's office, which were revolutionary in how the justice was going to be carried out in a community that was growing larger and larger, at a really fast rate. I mean, Gainesville today is a lot different than the Gainesville that you started off in
Sure,
1999.
absolutely.
So when we come back, what I want to talk about a little bit is about what you've done, during
Okay.
your tenure as the state attorney.
Absolutely.
What you intend to do, and how you feel about, the process with regards to the justice system and the state of the justice system, especially in light of the pandemic.
Right.
There's been a lot of changes, so I think the audience out there would really like to hear,
Sure.
what your foresight is in terms of the immediate future and how we're going to
Absolutely.
tackle this and how things may change long term.
I will. That would be great. So,
Okay, and we'll be back to Meldon Law and Friends in 60 seconds. The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
And we're back here at Meldon Law and Friends, our weekly podcast you can catch every Tuesday. Feel free to ask a question. We're running with it right now with the Honorable Brian Kramer, who became the state attorney in the 8th Circuit in January of 2021. So there's been some incredible, exciting new changes and things that are coming through the state attorney's office that I think are going to help make the system even better than it already is, which is has been a very, very functional system in this circuit compared to some other places in Florida. Before we go forward, we have a Facebook comment and question. It says, the 8th Judicial Circuit is on the cutting edge of providing prosecution alternatives and specialty courts such as adult felony drug court. There's also a veterans court that Judge Penna had created. I don't know who's in charge of it now. How does someone qualify for alternatives to traditional prosecution? I don't know if you can answer that.
well, it depends on whether you're going to go for an extra hour, because the person who wrote the question is very much correct. There are a wide variety of specialty courts in the 8th Judicial Circuit, and they're continuing to expand. You mentioned Veterans Court and Adult Drug Court. There are also felony forensics courts. There's mental health court. There are a number of other diversionary programs that are running that are not necessarily, those are all within the courthouse itself. We're running diversionary programs within our office as well. So how do you qualify for those programs? Most of those programs are status-based or need-based. So to be in Veterans Court, you're going to have to be an honorably discharged veteran, or there may be a lesser stage of discharge that qualifies as well. You have to have committed or be alleged to have committed certain crimes that meet criteria. You have to be approved by the state attorney's office. You have to be approved by the court itself to enter into the program. And these are diversionary courts, meaning that when the person is done and successfully completed the court, the charges against the person are going to be dropped. Drug court is for people who have, as it sounds like, a drug problem and who are seeking treatment, and they are trying to solve their drug problem, as opposed to people who may or may not be interested in that help at that moment in their life.
You know, it's amazing to me because it makes so much sense. It's very, very expensive to get involved in trying cases, the litigation system between whether it's the state attorney, private counsel, or the public defender, and that having alternatives to going to court, I think it's a win-win.
Right. Right, and one of the things, as you were talking about before the break, that we're working on now, we've just started implementing it, is we have had for several years, since we started it January 1, 2018, we've had a diversionary, well, it's not a diversionary program, a deflection program. So the difference between diversion and deflection is that in diversion, the case is already in the criminal justice system. We're going to do something, and then we're going to drop that case, right? With deflection, what we're doing is we're saying we're not even going to bring this case into the criminal justice system. It's going to get to the state attorney's office, but it's never going to get to the courthouse doors. And we're looking at the situation, we're dealing with it, and then the result is still that the case never gets prosecuted, right? So we've had that in county court for a while, since 2018. We're now bringing that to the felony court. And we have implemented one of the changes you talked about was, I took office in January of 2021. I took about the first 6 months to really get the lay of the land, understand the job, and see where the needs were, and to give the staff the comfort to know that there's going to be consistency over time. So one of the changes that I've just implemented now is that I've divided the responsibilities of our felony division chiefs and into one who's doing a process of intake and one who's doing the process of seeing the cases through to completion, or more like execution. And our intake division chief is now looking at every felony case to see that's coming through the door to see if it would qualify for deflection, which is new. So what we're learning in prosecution, and the more modern idea of prosecution, is that it isn't always going to be best for society that every person who encounters the criminal justice system needs to end up with a criminal record. That where you have a minor offender we can address the situation and put them back on the straight and narrow without establishing a criminal record, because you guys are well aware, doing what you do, of how detrimental that can be to someone, that ultimately has a better outcome for everyone. The offender and for everyone else.
Brian, your predecessor, Bill Cervone, implemented the DUI deferred prosecution
Correct.
system, and at the time there weren't that many state attorneys around
That's right.
doing it, and it's really turned out to be a very successful program.
And all of our deflection programs are very successful. We have, in our deflection program, we have approximately a 90% success rate.
Wow.
Which is
So-
amazing, because
Yeah.
if you run them through the system, they're going to be on probation. They have to show up for a probation officer maybe once a month.
Right.
And there's really no, there's no
Right.
carrot and stick going on the way there is in some of these deflection and
Correct.
diversion
Correct.
programs.
And ultimately, the long-term consequences of minor crime can be so difficult for someone to deal with in the longer term that the punishment that they get at the beginning isn't really proportionate to when you look at the longer-term punishment of what does it mean to you as a competitor in society to have a criminal record.
That's a very, very good point.
Right? And so we're now, and this is the modern look, is to say, look, is that where we need to start? And what we're doing now is we're saying, no, that isn't really where we need to start. Where we need to start is to look at someone who's committed a minor crime and see if we can deflect that out of the system. And if we can, great. And if they never come back, fantastic. If they do come back, well, the next time, most likely, they're not going to be deflected. And we realize now we have something that's more than a one-off. And that's really kind of the philosophy that is pervasive in modern prosecution. And we're bringing that here to Alachua County. And really, it's quite successful. I mean, when you look at the success rates that we have.
90% rate is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's in county court. We haven't seen, county court are misdemeanors.
Right.
We haven't done this enough in felony court to understand that. But oftentimes, the differences between a misdemeanor and a felony are completely arbitrary.
It
Right?
very much can
It
be.
could be charged either
yeah.
way.
It could be the
Yeah.
weight of drugs.
Yeah.
It could be the amount of the value of the item that was taken.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
And understand, we are making people whole. So if people are thinking, gosh, these people are getting no consequence, the consequences, especially for something like the DUI diversion program, which we've improved under
Yes.
my administration, they're greater than the consequences that someone would
If you were
serve
convicted.
if you went to court and you pled straight up and got whatever the judge gave you.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so it's really not a situation where somebody's getting a great deal, that it's really an effort to put people on the right track for success. And if that person proves to the world they're not going to be a success, that this is going to be a societal problem that society is going to have to deal with for a long time, we also have the people to deal with that.
Speaking of challenges, you rose to the position of the state attorney of the 8th Judicial Circuit during a pandemic.
Right.
That's incredible. So how is that?
Yeah.
How have you been dealing with that challenging situation?
It has been much more challenging actually lately than it was the first time through, I guess is the way to put it. The first thing we did is we sent everybody home with a computer and started getting people to work from home. And that was a challenge. No one was prepared for that. That was an untested model. But that was our first reaction
Did,
to
did
that.
you have software so that people could work remotely? Or
We
did
do. We just didn't have enough. So the lawyers, I'm sure as you guys probably do, they've all been working from home because it's not an 8-hour-a-day job. It's whatever it takes, right? You're a prosecutor. You have a job to do. You do the job. But for the folks who are support staff, they work 9 to 5. So we weren't prepared to send all those folks home to do the work from home. And that was a big challenge in the beginning.
And
then
it's such a large office.
Right, and bringing people back into the office safely, spacing people. We're just not set up for all that. So there were a lot of challenges. We've done well, but the variant that we've been dealing with now has been much more difficult because we have most of our staff's vaccinated, but they're still getting sick. So we are pretty much constantly sending people home, or they're home sick. And we do what we can. We're a regular business in those regards. We're really not. There's no difference between us and anybody else. I do everything I can to convince people to vaccinate. We do everything we can to convince people to be safe in our office. But at some point, it's up to them. Just like it is in every other business.
How about with regards to the court system? I mean, obviously, what the prosecutors have to do a lot of times is go to court and they argue cases in front of juries.
Right.
And it's in a public place, and
Right.
the Constitution ensures an individual a right to have a jury trial and
Absolutely.
confront their accusers
Right.
if there's a victim involved. So how does that work?
Well, the first thing is that we work cooperatively. We work cooperatively with the courts and with the public defender and with the private defense bar, meaning that we're not trying to argue things out in a courtroom and take an adversarial position on these issues. So, for instance, if we know that someone can't come to court and there's a trial, I'll talk to Stacey Scott and say, hey, can this person testify by Zoom? She may say yes, she may say no. It's her job to determine that person's confrontation rights and whether they're going to enforce them or not. The judges have control over the physical plant of the courtroom, and they make the decisions about what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, who's going to wear a mask, where they're going to wear that mask, how are we going to seat jurors, those type of things. Those are all with the judge, and we cooperate. We listen, we understand, and our people follow the rules. We're very good at following rules. We are rule followers by nature. And that's really how that works. And then the private defense bar, obviously, you guys have representation through Ron Kozlowski and the Florida Criminal Defense Association, and they are partners as well in with the judges and being involved in what happens.
I got an off-the-wall question for you.
All right.
How does the state attorney's office respond to lawyers that act like jerks?
Well, it depends on how much of a jerk the person's being. There is a certain amount of, to use your terminology, jerkiness that we just have to accept. There is a point at which that jerkiness can cross the line, and then we have a variety of tools in the toolbox, most of which we do not like to use. Of course, we have what's called a bench bar committee here in the 8th Judicial Circuit, which is sort of a way to send people to more of a community type thing and say, hey, we're having a problem. We need to solve it. That's one option. We can report people to the Florida bar. That's a difficult option because that attacks someone's livelihood, and people take it very seriously. And then, of course, we have things that are more practical in nature, which is, for instance, if I said to you, Carrie, here's the thing. If you keep doing this, you're never getting another plea offer for the rest of your life.
Right.
How about, you want to stop?
I think that's a pretty good stick, as I would say, the carrot and the stick.
That's also
One of the things, having practiced in Alachua County and North Central Florida for 50 years, Gainesville, we're a small enough community so people know if you're acting like a jerk, and word gets around. So you don't want to get there.
And it's really not normally a problem.
But,
we
you
really
know,
have an excellent bar.
People in South Florida look at us like we're in La La Land because we act nice and civil to each other.
And sometimes we have lawyers who come in from out of town, and it's as shocking to us as it is to them about what happens.
It's like you said, but when you get into court, you advocate for the people of the state of Florida. The defense attorneys advocate for their clients, whether it's the PD or whether it's the private counsel. And so there's a professionalism that happens within the arena versus outside the arena.
Correct.
And I've been practicing in South Florida now for 4 years. I can tell you that a lot of time lawyers try to figure out how much they can get away with. In Gainesville, you can't get away with very much. Everybody knows what everyone else is doing, so you better cross your T's, dot your I's, come prepared, and be willing to listen to the other side to get what we believe to be an equitable, at least try to get an equitable result. It always depends on what the facts and circumstances are, but there is, there's it's a great state attorney's office. We're
Yeah,
so
and
happy to have you here, Brian.
Similarly, if we have a prosecutor who isn't behaving properly, they get found out very quickly as well.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Hey, we got to call an end to this party. We're going to have Brian back here
I'll be back.
and deal some more things. This has been Meldon Law and Friends. Our special guest this half hour was Brian Kramer, the state attorney for the 8th Judicial Circuit. And thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Brian.
we'll be back next week on Meldon Law and Friends.